It's now my pleasure to introduce you to Hari Marar, who is the CEO of Bangalore International Airport. Again, one of Asia's most energetic and fast-growing airport hubs. Hari, thank you. Good to see you. Thanks. All right, so thank you for joining us. Bangalore, you told me, is one of India's first privately held, as opposed to government-owned airports. What does that mean? What advantages and what challenges does that pose for your airport as you are looking at the growth and trying to manage it, trying to fund it, and trying to make sure that everything works the way you and your stakeholders want?
Great. Henry, just to be clear, Bangalore Airport is India's first private-public partnership airport, not a completely privately held airport.
Okay.
Airports in India were always owned by State-owned Airport Authority of India, and it was in the early 2000s or late 1990s that India realized that aviation is growing at a faster pace and therefore requires capacity creation of a different order, for which the government didn't have access to capital nor the shelf of projects that is required to sort of drive that capacity development. It's at that point of time the government decided to privatize airports and to take the route of private-public partnership. Bangalore Airport was the first one which got a unique consortium of Siemens, Zurich Airport, and India's largest construction company, Larsen & Toubro, to come together to develop this airport. Now, as a private, look at it this way. It's like running a public asset with all the accountability and responsibility of running a public asset along that is fired by, let's say, private entrepreneurship. That's really what private-public partnership does. It gives you easier access to capital. It brings in the efficiency that private enterprise brings with it, and is the focus on keeping the customer at the center of development. Otherwise, infrastructure projects have traditionally been projects that are focused only on building the infrastructure and renting it out. Let's say the landlord approach, which we turned around, and when the airports got privatized, we changed that into making airports have a hospitality orientation. And so completely changed that around from being an infrastructure business to being a business of businesses. Today, we're not just a business that provides infrastructure, but we also are in the food and beverage business, in the retail business, in the fashion business, in the parking, taxi, and so on and so forth, and bring all that together, and bring about collaboration amongst all airport ecosystem players to make sure that this is delivered with a hospitality flavor. And that is the big difference that private enterprise has brought to airports in India.
I'm originally from New York, and I don't think anyone would ever say that there's a hospitality element to Kennedy, LaGuardia, or Newark. To hear an airport talk about this is very, very unique. Why does it matter to have a hospitality focus when it really, some would say it's really about the runways and the taxiways and the aprons and, keeping everything safe and secure and planes taking off and arriving, and that's that.
Making sure that the runways are built and they're built to standard that delivers safety and security, I think those are hygiene factors.
Right.
You're supposed to have airports that deliver that. But what makes airports differentiated and what makes every business ultimately, Henry, is a people's business. And what are these built for? They're there to deliver the need for a passenger to travel from point A to point B. How can we make that journey as seamless, as convenient, as comfortable, and as, if possible, memorable as possible? Airports in the past were seen as mere inconveniences to go through to get to the aircraft. And we want to change that around because we believe that it's possible to orchestrate better experiences on ground when the passenger is there for an hour and a half than it's possible to create in a metal tube 30,000 feet above sea level. Right? And that's the possibility. We are excited about the possibility of orchestrating those experiences and leveraging that not just to deliver great customer experience, but possibly make better revenues as well. That's the idea.
Okay. Bangalore is a global technology hub as a city. Much like San Francisco, where I live, that's probably the one industry most associated with the image of the city. You know, you at the airport underwent a digital transformation effort. What did that involve? Excuse me. And what else needs to be done that's on your on the roadmap?
Well, Bangalore, you're right. Bangalore is known as the technology capital of India, the Silicon Valley of India, the startup capital of India, and so on and so forth. Several monikers to Bangalore's name. But that's not the only reason why we chose to be positioned as leaders of technology and undergo a digital transformation. I think what drove us was the fact that we truly believe that technology is the best way to ensure that we make use of built infrastructure in a better manner, extract the maximum capacity of infrastructure that's already been built. In India, and it also goes back to the responsibility that comes from running a private-public enterprise to deliver a public service, that it must be delivered at a low cost. And low cost would mean that the answer to capacity challenges is not always to build. It's not always to throw bricks at it, but sometimes throwing bytes at it is a better way to extract better capacity. So technology was adopted by us as a means of enhancing our utilization of built capacity. 2, enhancing the experience of our customers. 3, driving better efficiency and lowering costs. And 4, potentially to enhance our non-aeronautical revenues as well, which of course is the holy grail for all of us.
Right.
So, and I can't say this journey has been all great. There have been learnings along the way as well. When we started, there was the initial excitement about going down the digital transformation route, which meant going out there and buying all the shiny new toys, and having the pleasure of going out there in the public domain and saying, first airport to introduce this and the first airport to introduce that. And soon we realized that, you know, that was quite pointless, because unless all this comes together, we're not leveraging the best that we can get out of the system. So initial approach of going towards point solutions, we quickly sort of rewound on that. We had to even give up some of the investments that we made at an early stage. And then we took back now what we believe to be the right approach of creating 4 platforms. And I think the platform approach works for a complex ecosystem like an airport much better. And creating these 4 platforms, we also give ourselves the opportunity to layer on top of that multiple point solutions that can probably solve any problem statement. What are those 4 platforms? I think to start with, we decided that we must internally become a digital-first organization. So for that, we first digitized our entire set of documentation, documents that we have across the organization, and automated all our internal business processes. And automating our internal business processes and digitizing as documents has really paid us rich dividends, because that helped us to think digitally first. And that was a huge benefit in the first place. We're not done there. We've finished 2 phases of it. The 3rd phase is commencing this year. And by the end of this year, I think we'll be 100% digitized and automated internally. The second step was to create a digital platform for interacting with customers. And I think that is also in various phases of development, which brings together at the center of it our biometric travel program. And wrapped around that biometric travel program are all the services that passengers might need. So it's omni-channel e-commerce. There is our own payment gateway that simplifies digital transactions. There is our loyalty program providing customer wayfinding, all the information that you need around travel. Brings all this together to literally become the digital travel concierge of the passenger. The 3rd platform that we developed for ourselves, considering the fact that this is a massive ecosystem of multiple players spread across 4,000 acres with many, many assets spread across the campus, is a asset management platform, and an asset management platform that's built on top of BIM, building information modeling, for built assets and for GIS for field assets. Bring all that together so that we can operate and manage our assets in a remote manner. And last but not the least, all these 3 platforms that I spoke about produce a lot of data. And all that data is, let's say, needs to be mined, organized, put together to give you better insights to run your business. So all the data comes together onto our DICE platform, which I think we've got, and DICE is the internal name for the platform that we have for business insights and using digital data. We bring all that data together. We've got a bunch of data scientists who are integrated into our team to work together. I can't say we've really cracked the code because there is still a long gap as far as that skill set is concerned, because the technology experts don't understand the domain guys don't understand technology, and bringing that together has been a bit of a challenge. But in the next 2 years, we hope to crack that challenge as well, so that we should be able to correlate data that has never been correlated before and create better insights for us to run our business.
So, you mentioned biometrics, and that is something that offers a lot of potential, but also has a lot of sensitivities to it. What has reaction been to it at the airport? Are people accepting of it? Again, you serve a wide mix of travelers. So how do people react to it? Are they concerned about data privacy? Are they concerned about who owns that? What's going to happen with biometrics after they go through the airport, et cetera?
Absolutely. Now, this is interesting because what we've done, and we were very cognizant of the fact that this is something that people are likely to be concerned about. In a developing country like India, where data is consumed in large volumes, privacy is not so much of a concern as many other parts of the world. So a lot of people have taken to the biometric travel program like fish to water, and it's been very easy adoption. However, for many people, it's certainly a matter of concern as to how their biometrics will be used and where will the data be stored and how is it likely to be misused, who ons the data, all these are concerns. So what we've done very interestingly is, first of all, we've used the central ecosystem has been built on a shared ledger platform. So what we've done there is that the data is always stored on the phone of the passenger. And what we do is the biometrics that are captured on the phone of the passenger are matched with the national database to confirm that the identity of the passenger is validated, and the travel documents are confirmed back with the airline DCS to confirm that the travel documents are validated. What is shared with the airport by the passenger when he's traveling through the airport is not the actual biometrics or the actual travel data. It's only the confirmation of the fact that the identity has been validated. So we call it a biometric identity validation program and not an identity management program. So since only the validity is shared, there is no risk of the fact that the data will be misused, because the data always resides with the passenger, and using blockchain technology, the airport only accesses the validation through a public key, private key, combination.
Okay. India is one of the most fiercely, intensely competitive airline markets in the world, with enormous growth. And we've had executives from several of the Indian airlines on various panels during the past few days. Air India has announced this amazingly large new aircraft order. Where do you see the, how much growth are you expecting between now and 2030? And have you already started talking to Air India about getting more than your fair share of those new planes as they get delivered?
Yeah, of course. Air India is the prettiest girl in town right now, and everyone's courting Air India. And of course, the growth is exciting in India, but I was just watching Ayman presenting about what they're planning to do in Saudi Arabia, and the kind of growth they're having. That is astounding. I don't think Indian growth will sort of match that, but Bangalore's growth has been quite interesting. I mean, we started with 8.7 million passengers in the year 2008, and we finished with 32 million passengers 10 years later. So it more than tripled its traffic in the last 10 years. And we anticipate to do a similar tripling of passenger numbers in the next 10 years. So which means by 2033, we should be at about 81 million. That's the sort of target that we have set for ourselves. And it's likely to happen because in India, domestically itself, we're highly underpenetrated. The per capita trip rate is really low at this point of time, even compared to developing markets. So I believe that there's potential for the traffic to grow 5 times. But it's always a balance between capacity and demand, and just the pace that we can potentially have in a sustainable manner. Keeping that in mind, my view is that we will triple traffic to about 80 million. As far as Air India is concerned, it's not the growth alone that Air India brings that makes it exciting for us, because the growth will happen in India whether it's Air India or anybody else, because it's simply the kind of nature of demand that we have in India. But what is exciting for us is the possibility of India for the first time being able to create a genuine hub, which we haven't done that. India's largest hubs today are Dubai and Singapore, and that's really the unfortunate story of Indian aviation. And we always needed a strong Indian carrier with the potential to create hub and spoke flows with their long-range aircrafts and the narrow bodies that can operate domestically to create those hub and spoke flows. And we're excited about the possibility that Air India might do that. So as Bangalore Airport, our proposition to Air India has been to create that southern hub at Bangalore. Conversations are ongoing. I think it looks promising, but only time will tell whether that's likely to happen or not.
Okay, good. Let's hold this thought, because now we're going to bring Aman back up to the stage, and we're going to welcome Sumesh Patel from SITA, and we're going to have the panel conversation.